Welcome to another Monster Info with Reverend Jeff. This episode revolves around the Big Bird of Texas, USA. In 1976, residents of South Texas's Rio Grande Valley were terrorized by a huge, ape-faced winged beast, which, according to eyewitness reports, bore two blood-red eyes. While this creature may share the same moniker as an affectionate, yellow-plumed character adored by millions on Sesame Street, anyone who's ever encountered this ape-faced, bird-like monstrosity will tell you that this creature is anything but lovable. Although Tom Weldon would claim to have found unusual three-toed tracks measured 8 inches across embedded in the ground near his Harlingen home on January 2nd, 1976, the first known sighting of the creature that would come to be known as Big Bird occurred January 1st, 1976, when then 11-year-old Tracy Lawson and her 14-year-old cousin Jackie Davis saw the beast while playing in Lawson's backyard near Harlingen, Texas. The girls claimed they saw the creature standing approximately 300 feet away in an irrigation canal. Lawson, frightened yet intrigued, went inside to get her binoculars. When she returned, Lawson did not see the large bird she expected, but a mysterious monster staring back at her. Not surprisingly, their parents, who had yet to hear any reports of the creature, were skeptical of the girl's story. That would be until the wee hours of January 7th, when a San Benito, Texas police officer named Arturo Padilla claimed to have seen something extraordinary in the headlights of his cruiser. Padilla described the creature as looking like a really big bird, approximately 5 feet in height, with a 12-foot wingspan. As striking as the proportions of this avian anomaly are, far and away the most intriguing aspects of this flying fiend were the bald head and simian-like features complete with bright red eyes. When she returned, Lawson did not see the large bird as she expected, but a mysterious monster staring back at her. Not surprisingly, their parents, who had yet to hear any reports of the creature, were skeptical of the girl's story. That would be until the wee hours of January 7th, when San Benito, Texas police officer named Arturo Padilla claimed to have seen something extraordinary in the headlights of his cruiser. Padilla described the creature as looking like a really big bird, approximately 5 feet in height, with a 12-foot wingspan. As striking as the proportions of this avian anomaly are, far and away the more intriguing aspects of this flying fiend were its bald head and simian-like features, complete with bright red eyes. Almost immediately following this initial encounter, Padilla's colleague, Officer Homer Galvin, also reported seeing the thing, but due to his distant proximity, all he was able to discern was a large black winged creature, silhouette against the sky. Later that night, Alvarico Guardo and his nephew Ricardo, who were fishing on the banks of the Rio Grande, had also claimed to have encountered the thing. They described it as having eyes as big as silver dollars and a long, skinny beak, despite the fact that it resembled a huge bat. The next day, the Brownsville Herald ran a story about Guardo's bizarre sighting and quoted him as saying, "I was scared. It's got wings like a bird, but it's not a bird. That animal is not of this world." This abnormality is powerful fear in a sensation shared by many people who claim to have had encounters other fantastic red-eyed flying fiends such as the Mothman, the Blackbird of Chernobyl, the Freiburg Shrieker, and anomalies, monsters, the Crimean War monstrosities, just to name a few. That having been stated, the mammalian features described by most witnesses would seem to preclude quasi-paranormal creatures like the ones listed. Still, as terrifying as the apparition was to behold, the worst was yet to come. On January 14th, 1976, Raymondville resident Armando Grimaldo claimed to have had the most harrowing encounter yet chronicled with this aerial atrocity. According to Grimaldo, he heard a loud flapping sound accompanied by an odd whistling noise while walking outside. Just as he glanced up to find the source of this strange noise, a pair of large talon-like claws grabbed onto the back of his shoulders, tearing his shirt and sending him crashing to the ground. Grimaldo managed to scramble to his feet and dove under a nearby tree for protection. He stared in horror as the big bird flew away. Neighbors responding to Grimaldo's shrieks claimed that they found him in his backyard, shaking and screaming, his shirt and jacket torn. Grimaldo would later describe his airborne assailant as a soaring, gorilla-faced creature with leathery, bat-like skin. This description is not unlike those of the winged monkeys that have been seen in some of the most remote regions of Earth, such as the Indonesian orang bati and the Vietnamese ahul, Cameroon's bat-like olitiao, and even North America's dubiously named bat squatch. On February 24th of 1976, the teachers from San Antonio claimed to have seen the big bird near Harlequin as well. The trio indicated that the creature did not look like a bird or bat-like, but it resembled most of an order of formerly extinct flying reptiles that were thought to have been wiped out along with the dinosaurs nearly 65 million years ago, known as pterodons. These bizarre sightings persisted in the area for several weeks, and it wasn't long before the press got wind of these encounters and a wave of big bird hysteria swept the nation. Local radio stations offered $1,000 rewards for the capture of this creature, and television news teams showed footage of 9 by 12-inch bird-like tracks that were said to be those of the big bird. The incident would soon reach the apex of its fame when it was spoofed by none other than the legendary Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. As the frenzy surrounding this phenomenon peaked, Ed Dutch, commissioned officer of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, no doubt fearing this would be monster hunters might mistakenly shoot and kill large, rare protected birds, announced that the birds were protected by the state and federal law. We have a number of species of birds that do exist in South Texas and the Valley area. Many of them have wingspans to perhaps 10 feet or in excess of 10 feet, and some of them are on the rare endangered species list. The punishment for catching a protected bird would cost a hunter $5,000. Not long after the initial flap of sightings, a 5-foot-tall jabiru, the tallest flying bird in South and Central America with a wingspan of up to 9 feet, was found far from its Latin American home near the Rio Grande River. This, combined with video footage of the large blue heron, which was passed off on local news programs as genuine footage of the creature, led some to surmise that the whole big bird fad was nothing more than non-indigenous birds being misidentified by overeager eyewitnesses. Of course, for those who had though too close encounters with the creature, such as Officer Padilla and Armando Grimaldo, the skeptics claim that the whole flap was caused by nothing more than giant storks or blue herons were patiently and partially ridiculous. One does not need to be trained ornithologist to recognize the differences between a bird's beak and a primate's face. Alec Resendez claimed to have seen the big bird 3 times during the 1970s. The first 2 sightings consisted of brief glimpses of the beast over Brownsville, but the third time, Resendez swore he saw it in broad daylight near his rural McCook area home. Renendez said the huge animal had landed not far from him in a cow pasture, which is now surprisingly, as this animal, much like many other creatures reputed to be out of this world, were accused to be of numerous cattle mutilations. He described the thing as having glassy black eyes, underscored by distinctive red markings, but its oddest feature was its beak. In his own words, he said, "You have to look close because his beak is very transparent. If you see it real fast, you're going to think it doesn't have no beak. I never seen a bird that big. He was brownish, like dirt. He does not have long legs and does not stand like other birds." Resendez estimated that the brown bird stood over 4 feet tall, but before he could inspect it any further, an angry bull charged the creature. The big bird wasted no time in unfurling its large wings, which, much to his surprise, appeared to have blue and white stripes. The short legs, the translucent beak, would seem to indicate that this is not a typical stork or heron, as skeptics claimed. While Texas has been long known for its thunderbird sightings, and there are more than a few who have speculated that the big bird may be the very same creature, there is nothing in the annals of American zoology that even remotely compare to the ferocious, flying, ape-faced fiend that stalked the Texas skies all those years ago. Is the giant bird of Texas still out there? Many claim to still hear about sightings of it, them. Thanks for joining me for Monster Info. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.